these recording files, like if I go to here, videos, like how is that 2 gigs? I'm gonna do something terrible. I'm gonna just mute my computer so it doesn't, so I'm gonna mute desktop audio, and I'm gonna go open file. I mean, man, that looks decent enough. Okay, well, I guess videos aren't as big as I thought they'd be. I mean, it's an ultra wide screen. It's recorded an hour, and it's a gig. And there must be a decent compression. I mean, it's H.264, pretty sure. So, I don't know. Decent enough. All right, great. Back at this. So, what were we doing? All right, so we have made the merge request. Great. So, what we generally do is once that actually got merged, which I did, it would run a pipeline. It would build. None of that stuff's real and happening right now. And then we would go and once it's live, we would go and run the drush config import command. And well, we don't have that. So, what we're going to end up doing is we've merged this, so now we're going to go here and go gg pull, which is just an alias I have for like git pull, current branch I'm on. Oh, hung up. Oh, okay. Never mind. I got to figure it out. That branch I deleted. I was like, oh, well, come on. I'm not on the VPN. Great. I pulled. Now, this is a thing to look for as a Drupal developer. If you do a pull and you see config has changed, hopefully you've done this before you've made any changes locally, but that means you need to run a config import. And if you don't run this config import and you start making config changes and then you run a config export, it's going to revert all of these files and you'll have screwed yourself. It's not completely screwed. You could still... What I do in that scenario is I git add all of the files, the config files I know that I changed, and then I stash them, and then I import the current config, which deletes everything I've done, and then I pop my config, and then I import it again, and maybe it works. And maybe I do a database dump before I do all of that just because. But, I mean, you're kind of screwed if you do that. So just try to always pull down and get the latest code first before you do your work. Yeah, always pull down. If you see config changes, you run fun drush config import. Luckily, this is all my config that I just pushed up. So it's going to say, hey, there's nothing to change. If there was something to change, it'd be like, hey, these 5 things have changed. And if you see it's deleted, if it says, hey, I'm deleting a bunch of config, what that means is that you made a database change live. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go, because this is just going to, I'm just going to blow it away for fun. And I'm going to create a new content type called test. So what I'm emulating here is that you have been working locally and you did not import config first. And then you do a pull and you're like, oh crap, a bunch of configs there. So you run a fin-drush config import. And what it's going to say is, hey, this setting changed, it updated, and these settings are being deleted. So what that means is that you have things locally that are not in code. And now what most likely it's going to be a lot of things updated, some things created, and some things deleted, because what is in config is actually way different than what you have locally. And this is how you know that you are screwed, and you have to try to figure that out. So, that's why I always pull down and import config first before you make changes. And now I'm going to just go ahead and import this, and if we go back to structure content types, my test content type does not exist because it just got deleted by the config. So that's why you need to know what config is what, and so you don't screw yourself over as much as possible. Great, so we've created that. So what I said we were going to do next is we are going to go ahead and create the listing of the blogs. And I'm going to look for that ticket. I mean, I'm trying to do tickets as much as possible, because I was told blog listing views. Hey, hey, look at that. The recent blogs, it does say is the clean stack component. Look at that. David did a good thing and actually did all these things that he said he did. All right. Oh, and then what I also do is I use this command line tool to track my time. So that's another thing. I'm switching tickets. I really should have clocked out of that ticket when I made that merge request. After I made that merge request and it was done, I would clock out that ticket. Obviously, if I had to go then confirm it on a staging site, then I would go back into it. But now I'm on a new ticket, so I'm going to Watson start CRD 30. I'm creating the blog listing views. Okay. Gonna get some water. Okay, so listing view. So in Drupal, you go to structure, views, and this is how we can create listings of things. What might be good is to turn on... There is a module called Devil Generate, and it will generate us some dummy content. Yeah, I don't really care. So Devil Generate, boom. The one disadvantage of that is node IDs and IDs of content. Those do never ever go back. So when I create this content, node ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what all those are going to get taken, but nobody but us sees that. So who cares? Who's really like, oh man, I wanted this to be node 4 and now it's node 50 because you created a bunch of fake stuff. If you care about that, you're weird. Oh, one thing we also didn't do when you're creating the blog content type is we didn't actually create a test blog ourselves. That was bad of us. We should go back and do that. That's where the add content is in there. But so this is part of the past ticket we should have done. You should actually go create a blog yourself and confirm it works after you just built that content type. So hey, welcome to the Gutenberg editor. I'm just gonna follow this tutorial because I generally skip tutorials. And then you don't know some basic thing. In the Gutenberg editor, each paragraph, image, or video is presented as a distinct block of content. Make each block your own. Each block comes with its own set of controls, changing things like color, width, alignment. These, yep. Get to know the block library or the plus icon. Learn how to use the Gutenberg editor. Get started. Great. So then we go to our good old friend Lorem Ipsum. Boom. Copy. So you click in here. So this is, wow, man, this looks a lot different than what it looks like on my personal website. It looks a lot better, actually. So you paste this in. Hey, we have the Gutenberg editor, and this is where it's you can do all this stuff. It's I know that some people don't like it, and I just don't get it. It's just so good. This should be a heading. What kind of heading? An H2. And we'll do this. And then this should be this should be an H3. So we go heading. What kind of heading? An H3. This should be a block quote. So you click on the paragraph, this should be a quote. This whole thing is a quote. A caption. And then, you know what? I want to go here, and I want to add an image. I want to upload an image. Do I have stock images on here? I have screenshots. Sure, why not? Why not? I'm trying to find a screenshot that is probably safe to show. Hey, Roller Coaster Tycoon, let's do that. Perfect. And now this is another one where we need to create image styles, and we need to create default image styles for the Gutenberg editor. Wow, they've rounded corners. That's cool. But we go over here at image style large, and it's going to scale it to 480 by 480. So what I've done for my personal website is I've created a Gutenberg inline image style, and what it does is it just does a scale. It doesn't do a scale and crop, but it crops it to it scales it to a max width of 1200 pixels or something. because I don't know what people are, I mean, it's me, but I don't know what people are uploading, and I don't want to say, oh, any blog image you upload has to be cut to a perfect square. Like, I don't put whatever you want, but I also don't want it to be, you know, I don't want it to be a 1 or 2 or 7 megabyte image. So this max 1330, 1300 by 1300, we'll do what I want for there. Just like, don't let them upload a giant image here. And then from here, I think you can even do like this, full width, and it like breaks out. Like, so if we're doing that, let's do this right here, because I know for a fact this is a screenshot off of my ultra wide monitor, so it's a giant image. But like, that's so cool that people can do that, and it's more of, I love it because configuring CK Editor to not suck. I mean, CK Editor is great. I don't want to just bash on CK Editor. Been using it for years, and it is absolutely great. It is so much better than alternative things, but maybe not this. It's not better than this. It's for what this does. If you want, I mean, and CK Editor is still going to be, I mean, I guess I should say CK Editor will be on this website, most likely. For lots of things that need standard little WYSIWYGs here and there, Gutenberg is not the answer. But for, you know, a full blog where we're letting people do whatever they want, and like, as people use Medium and stuff, let's not pretend that that doesn't exist. I'm not a fan of that website, but people use it. So therefore, we should, you know, that's the interface they use, and people like it, and I understand why people like it, because it's just great. I don't know what a group is. That seems weird. But, okay, whatever. Obviously, I can confirm the WYSIWYG does indeed work. Now, this is one that is like, okay, yeah. So, blog title, I mean, obviously it's probably that, but like, my test blog, okay, published. URL alias, you'll eventually set up default aliases, author information, whatever, promoted to the front page, whatever. But now you're like, but what about like the images and all that other stuff? Now this is the part about Gutenberg that I don't like. Now, I want to, before I bash it too much, what's this do? That's a back, it's a preview. What? What? No way. That's sweet. Okay. Oh, okay, and you lose that. That's cool. Top toolbar. Spotlight mode. Oh. Interesting. So now this is just Josh plays with Gutenberg. It's code editor. Oh. Interesting. I do like that they put all the WP crap in here. It's funny. Whatever. Alright, but now all the default blocks, all the default fields that we added for Drupal hide under more settings. That's the part where I'm like, that's kind of dumb. Because we do need to upload an image. And I'm not going to upload that one. I'm going to upload... Don't I have like a pictures directory on my computer? I do. Do I have any good pictures? Wallpapers. Oh, perfect. Calvin and Hobbes. Hey. Calvin and Hobbes. So this is where, like, hey, you should be cropping this image. Somehow. Tags. Test. Oh, we're not using that autocomplete. Like, this is where I'm like, yeah, we should use that tag, the autocomplete deluxe. And then this is why I said you should test it before you upload it. So, I mean, we screwed up. So, don't feel bad. Like, hey, even I screwed up. Test and blog. It did make 2 separate taxonomy terms, but that's definitely not the best interface. So, let's try. I've used autocomplete deluxe before. I've never used the search autocomplete one, but I'm pretty sure, like, I mean, I guess we'll look. 1,200 sites are using it. 1,600. I mean, 16,000. Drupal 9's here. Drupal 9's here. Pre-release for Drupal 8. This is a pre-release for Drupal 8. They had a full release for Drupal 8. Okay. Okay, to me. Oh. Oh, this looks like it does different stuff. Autocomplete functionality to virtually any field of a Drupal site. During the input, the field will be expanded and offer a list of suggestions. So this kind of looks like a link it. Like, why would I use this over link it? Does it say? Okay, so this, to me, is a different thing. I like it, and I want to post it to... I want to post it in my company Slack, so I'm going to switch to webcam only and do of like link it. I'm glad that I basically have never used OBS, and I figured out, I already was like, I should set up scenes in case I want to switch my screen to something I should not be showing people. I'm proud of myself. Okay, great, autocomplete deluxe. Finn, composure, do that. Drink some more coffee. Running out of water. And I was sous videing a steak that was ready at 7 p.m. It's now past that. Okay, sorry. I'm getting boring over here. /U Jeffrey. Me just want to confirm something real quick. All right. Yeah. So we got autocomplete deluxe downloaded, and now we're gonna go Finn Drupal module install autocomplete deluxe. All right. Okay, that is there. Now that is on, and what we're going to end up doing is we're going to go back to structure content type. Blog. We're going to go to manage form display, and we are going to change tags to autocomplete deluxe. So, but I wanted to give core a try before we just said, oh, we're not going to use core. Delimiter, a character which should be used besides the enter key to separate terms, comma. Show term not found message. The add term will be added. Allow new terms. No terms can be found. Please type in order to add a new term. Sounds all good. So what that was doing is, anytime you add a new like field widget, that's not a field. That's a form widget. Okay, we get to configure it. So what we were saying is we limit the output, set 0, no limit. I mean, so I'm assuming this means you can only... I think the output either means we're setting a max of 10 tags can be added, or we'll only show 10 in the autocomplete. Not sure, but like you shouldn't add more than 10 tags. We really might want to add like a limit of 3 or 4, whatever. Delimiter is, I think what it's saying is when you do the autocomplete, you press enter when you find the tag you want, and that adds that tag. I don't like that because everyone I think is used to comma, but so this will add comma or enter as the tag. Show term not found. There's no point of showing a term not found because we're saying, hey, we're just gonna Yeah, you know what? We should do that. Because what if you type a tag and it'll show that might make you realize, like, oh, I didn't spell a word right. Then we're going to say, hey, it's not found. We're going to add it. Like, it's not a problem. We're not saying you can't add them. We're just saying we're going to add them. And then, yeah, so let's go ahead and save that. And now we're going to go back to my test blog and we're going to go edit it again. And then we're going to go scroll the way down to the settings. And, oh, look at how this looks. Like, that's kind of dumb. So, like, another. Yeah. Oh, if I do... Okay, so if I do this and delete test, and now I start typing... Huh. Interesting. It's possible the Gutenberg breaks it. It's possible the Claro breaks it. That is the problem with we're not using the default admin theme. Claro, I believe, is eventually going to move to being the default admin theme, but it's not currently. And we're using Gutenberg. So Gutenberg drastically changes the default Drupal display of editing a thing. Like, I mean, this is a Drupal form. But then this is, but it looks nothing like that. So it's possible some JavaScript is broken because of that and the autocomplete doesn't work. It's also possible the autocomplete doesn't work because there are no fields that don't exist. But, I mean, it's still, I say it's a better interface than what we had before. So I'm just going to go with it and call it good. All right. So we are creating views. All right, so we are creating the views that will be listing out the blogs. So, generally, I like to create one view, like, per content type, if it makes sense. Because you could, I mean, and this is kind of like there is no right or wrong way to do it. But I think it's easier to say, like, create a view, call it like blog listing, and it does all the different blog listing types, unless there really makes sense for there to be a different blog listing type view. Because then when later in the future, when you're looking at this and you're like, oh, I need to edit one of the views about blogs, and there's 12 different blog listing views, you're like, well, which one is it? Well, just do one and just have a million displays. So I'm going to go ahead and call it blog listing. You could give it a description. I never do. I probably should. And this is very important, setting the default view settings. This is like the one thing that you cannot change once you have created the view, is this field right here. So this is doing, really, so you have to remember that views is a graphical interface for querying the database. And you right here are essentially setting the table that you are making your select off of. If that is an easier way for you to, if you don't make SQL statements, that might not mean much to you. But if you choose content, you are grabbing the node content table. And then any other fields and things you want to grab off of that are joins off of that. Now, what the problem is once you do that, what if you created this as blog listing and then you realize, well, actually, blogs are a taxonomy term. I mean, that does make sense in this case. You can't go back and change this. You'd have to, I mean, you can delete the view and create it again. So it's not that big of a deal. But it's the one thing you can't change. If I go and say this shows content type of blog, I can change the type. And I can change the sort by, and I can change everything. I cannot change this. And now it does get interesting sometimes where you might want to show blogs, but based off of the relationship, because these are right here, are the different tables we can grab. We got content, we got media, we got files, we got users, we have taxonomy terms, we have content moderation state, we have web form submissions. So it could be like, oh, I want to show blog teasers. But because I'm putting those in a group based off taxonomy terms, so if our blog page was, here's all the blogs that are about Drupal, and I had like a Drupal, and then said, here's those 5 blogs, and then it said WordPress, and there's those 2 blogs, and then it did, if it was grouped like that, you might actually need this to be taxonomy terms, and then you use a relationship, which is a join, to pull in those blog items. Now, that is that is a thing that trips people up, and I get it wrong too sometimes. I think the way I just explained it to you right now is the way that makes sense to me and actually works. Any other way I've done it never works. But like I said, you can delete things and recreate them. It's not that big of a deal. Creating views doesn't take that long, and especially because you could, if you created the news views if you created these blog views and they work for everything, but there's just one page that needs to be sort of a taxonomy term, you just create a new view and just call it like blogs by taxonomy term, and then that one grab taxonomy terms and pull the blogs in by a relationship. It's not a problem. I just know that a lot of times developers come to me like, I'm creating this view and it's like 90% there and I just can't get it to group by the taxonomy term right, or stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, I don't know, just try building it the reverse way and see if that fixes it. And it most of the time does. Okay. Now, this gets into a next thing of like, hey, do we want to use pages or do we want to use blocks? So this is a thing that we go back and forth on. So it makes sense that the default blog listing page that's like codequals.com/blogs should just be a Drupal view page path/this blog. But now let's go and look at the design of the blog listing page. And now let's look at it. Now this might be the one of the examples where a blog as the view as a page might actually work, because we do have a hero, but the rest of it, the first display is different. There we go. That's what does it. So if you can use a page, it's way better, because then the pagination works better. You don't have to use like the Ajax pagination. You don't run into weird issues. But the issue you run into on making it a page is, what if this is content that a user should be able to edit that you don't want to give them access to go and like straight edit the view? Because the view is configuration, but it shows content. Like, how do you do that on a page? So a lot of times what we end up doing is we create a landing page that it has like a couple pieces of content in it, but it's mostly just we paste in a block that's listed. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing it. And I think I see that's what a lot of people do. So it's not a big deal. But if you can use a view page, then you already get the route. You get the pagination. It just works. I mean, they make pages for a reason. So you should use them if you can. On my personal site, I use view pages for like all the pages. And it works. So, doesn't work here. But I need to step away for a moment. I'm going to stop my recording, and I will be back to the stream in a couple of minutes.